Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 12 of the Andy Campbell Championship Show, only on ACEcast Nation. I am your host, Si, and I'm joined by ex-Premier League and Championship striker, Cardiff City legend, Mr. Andy Campbell. We have three main featured games from the weekend's rounds of matches in the Championship, which we focus on, as well as talking all the other games, giving our 2 for 2, where we select two players each who have either had a nightmare or a blinder. Andy will answer your questions, no matter how weird they may be. And in recent weeks, they have been. They're pretty good this week, actually. They're well behaved.
Disappointed.
No. And then we finish off with the soon-to-be award-winning 10-second segment that is Fake Geordie Bingo Lingo, where Andy teaches me something about his northern culture, whether it be a food like last week, a bit of slang, a well-known phrase.
Yeah.
Joining me to talk. He's ready. He's always ready.
Born ready.
Born ready, that's it. Joining me to talk about all these subjects, provide expert insight and analysis, is the one and only, the goal-scoring machine, the QPR dream killer, Mr. Andy Campbell. Welcome, mate.
Good evening, my friend. I'm all good, mate. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah,
I think it's when we have an international break. It gets me mouth watering, ready for the next one. I think I miss it. It was good last week, by the way, to talk about different stuff. But then I don't know, when the game's happening, and you see all the goals and you see the Friday night games, the Saturday morning game. It's just want to get back into it.
Yeah, it was a weird one last week because obviously, like we talked about the home nation games, and now it's different, and I quite enjoy it sometimes. I've enjoyed the two shows we've done on the home nation games and like the international break, even though I'm not a massive fan of the international break. And I enjoyed, we both went off on one a bit about the racism and the stuff with England and Bulgaria, and rightly so.
Yeah.
But it's different subject to talk about. I guess
it's not the same, is it? It's not the same. I think we're getting controversy in one game, but then there's so much to talk about in the 10 games. It's just the Championship is just a different animal at the minute. It's just it seems to be the gift what keeps on giving.
Oh, mate, it's a minefield, isn't it? Trying to predict the results, which and funny
especially for me and you.
Oh, I know, Jesus Christ! Do you think about those predictions at the start of the season, mate?
When are we going to tell everybody that was a joke at the start of the season?
I know.
And we really didn't say all that.
Yeah, we wrote down our real predictions, and we'll let you know them at the end of the season. So just before we start off, we're going to do I'll do my little plugs. Got to do the plugs, got to do the sponsorship stuff. All the shows and series are available in video format at youtube.com/AcePodcastNation. You might be watching now. And audio at the usual podcasting platforms: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, Breaker, many, many more, too many to list. We've brand new MMA series launched the weekend of the 5th of October, the Danny Batten MMA show, where myself and former Cage Warrior featherweight champion Danny Batten broke down UFC 243, and we have another one coming up on, I think it's the 3rd of November for UFC 244. And I've got some really good guests, MMA fans. So this will be out Wednesday. So Monday, I had an interview with former Cage Warriors featherweight champion Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who had plenty to say for himself, and he was really entertaining. What do we talk about? He talks about football, talks about Liverpool and Man United, and Curtis Woodhouse, and all these Twitter people who come at him. And he's a scouser, so he doesn't hold back, and he's got plenty to say. He's very entertaining, and and Danny Batten's obviously, he sorted me out with a couple of guests as well, some Bellator fighter and a couple of other fighters, which I'm hoping to record soon. We also have the returning mental health series coming up over the next week or two. Got a show on addiction with a writer who is a recovering alcoholic and porn addict, which will be a very interesting show, as well as a show on schizophrenia coming up. Today's show is brought to you by Away Day Apparel. Away Day Apparel is a group of casually obsessed football fans looking to bring something different to the wardrobes of like-minded people. Football, music, weekend carnage high on the agenda. They aim to bring you exclusive products. They are edgy, controversial, but most importantly, current, from t-shirts, polos, shorts to hoodies, jackets and accessories. Stick with them and they aim to bring you terrace wear that will turn heads and provide the cutting edge that we all crave. So yeah, I was thinking I might ask Alan from Away Day Apparel to design a Ace Podcast Nation T-shirt for an Away Day Apparel one, and then maybe give it away at the end of the season as a prize.
I'm thinking,
but I have to see how much it'll cost me first. So just before we get, not that I'm tight or anything, but gotta do these things. So yeah, before we just go to the football, I wanted to touch on it. We've already talked about, like last week, we discussed the racist instance with England and Bulgaria, and me and you went off on one a bit because we weren't happy.
Yeah.
And I did not expect to, or should I say, and if you guys want to check out and hear what we had to say about that, that was in last week's show, which you can find on YouTube and all the podcasting sites. It's a very interesting show. We talked about all the home nation games, but also I think we spent about 20 minutes talking about racism in football, in particular the England-Bulgaria game, but also as a general subject and what we would do. And lo and behold, what did UEFA do? Absolutely bugger all. And did you, like in the kind of statement where they announced the charges, didn't even mention racism. And
no,
that's a problem to me, because that's the issue.
Well, they set the president, mate. They set the president with England. England got charges as well. You know what I mean? So that what they're doing, they're condoning booing a national anthem the same as they are with racism. And I can't believe, I couldn't believe what I read. You know what I mean? And people resigning from the job. Forget resigning from your jobs. People should have been sacked for some of the comments. You know what I mean? The manager should never have resigned. He should have been sacked before the game had finished, and then we would have had a little bit more respect for people. And then we go whole circle as well. And some idiots who've seen this racism happening decide to go to a football game at the weekend and watch Yeovil and go and throw a bottle, spit at, and racially abuse a goalkeeper. Honestly, mate, I just don't know what goes through people's heads. You know what I mean? And this week especially, I thought everyone would have kept the nose clean. If you are a racist and that's the way that you condone and conduct yourself, then that's your choice. But do not do it 4 days after the biggest racist incident in football for a long time, and do it in a high-profile game as the FA Cup, unless that's what you wanted to do and you try to get a bit of publicity. But it's ruining football clubs, mate. It's tarnished again another football club, and this time it's Yeovil. And you know what I mean? I felt so sorry for the goalkeeper on Saturday and his teammates and the manager. I seen the manager's interview and he was close to tears, and he said he's known the goalkeeper since he was 14 years old, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and we can go on about this all day. And you know what I mean? For me, if Yeovil have been found guilty, throw them out the FA Cup, chuck them out the FA Cup so they can't make any more money from it, and the person who's done it will be punished by his own fans, his own people who knows he's done it. And hopefully he'll get named, shamed, and put all over and banned from every football ground in the world for the rest of his life.
Yeah, so two men have been arrested, aged 23 and 26, from Yeovil and Chard. They were arrested on Monday for racially aggravated common assault, both in custody as far as I know at the moment. But the thing which gets me about it is they're not kids. Yes, they're young. 23 is quite young. But they're not 17, 18-year-old kids who have had a couple of beers, not used to drinking, and playing the fool to older people around them. And do you know what I mean? They're 26. I had two kids by the time I was 26.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that that's particularly old to have two kids by then, but it's not a baby either. And I think.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse for their actions. You know what I mean? And whatever happens to them, you know what I mean? They've got to make a stand soon, because they've got to stop it, and they're not going to stop it if these two idiots get community service or get banned from football grounds. You know what I mean? Throw them in prison, and it'll set the precedent for the next person who decides to do it, because that's what it is. They've decided to do it. Do you know what I mean? It's not. Do you know what? Do you know what made me even more makes it worse is the goalkeeper didn't even save the penalty. They're abusing the goalkeeper after they scored the penalty. So they potentially were going to go at the first round of the FA Cup after scoring a penalty, but they decided to throw a bottle, spit at, and racially abuse a goalkeeper. Who's the daftest here? Yeah, it's
Pathetic,
it's
mate.
just, oh God, it's just idiocy at its finest, absolute
Yeah,
finest.
it makes me really really sad, mate, because
Yeah,
like, and the chairman of the home team, he used the word soul destroying afterwards, and I kind of feel like that because I looked at the keeper in the video and the pictures of him afterwards, and he looked genuinely like not angry or like raging as if he wanted to dive into the crowd and smack the blokes, which
yeah,
some players have, that's how they've reacted, isn't it, to this sort of thing. He looked genuinely hurt and
yeah,
like he just couldn't believe that in 2019 this is what's happening.
yeah.
Um, and then, of course, Hearts are now have opened an investigation after a Rangers striker, Alfredo Morales, was
Morales
racially
yesterday,
abused on Sunday.
yeah,
Italy, Roma have given a lifetime ban to a supporter who was racially abused, Brazilian defender on social media. And then obviously you had the stuff with England, Bulgaria last
yeah.
week. The thing with the Bulgaria coach for me was even after the game, I forget, one of the journalists said that he denied even hearing or seeing any racial abuse. And I was like, after what he said before the game, he should have been grovelling for forgiveness, for stoking it up.
I
And
agree.
for him to come out and say that, oh, it makes me really wow, because he contributed to that. He made that worse beforehand by the things he said. And I think you said that last week, that he was bang out of order. And then to make out like he hadn't seen anything, or just pathetic, mate.
Yeah,
So it is, just to finish off on this, quick question for you. Last week I was talking to you. I haven't written his name down, which I'm really sorry. But I was talking about I'd pulled up an article about the first black player to play for Chelsea, and he had been interviewed in the run up to England Bulgaria, and he'd said that he felt like the racism within football grounds and football fans had got worse than it's ever been. And we kind of sort of briefly compared it to the 60s, 70s, 80s and sort of disregarded it. But maybe I was thinking then over the past week, maybe in the last couple of years, has it got worse and slipped again? Where it's at this level where, it's we've had a game, all right, in the non-league, but a game in the English pyramid or the British pyramid, which as the teams have walked off due to racist abuse. That's never happened before. So
no,
has it got worse with social
um,
media as well?
I think we're back. I think we're back to square one again, if not worse. Because we've made a big thing about it, and rightly so, by the way. Because I think sometimes when you make a big thing about something, it gets dealt with. But I think because we made a big thing about it with social media and with TV and it's given some idiots and individuals an excuse to do it. You know what I mean? And they're thinking now, oh, do you know what? Everyone's talking about racism. I'll be racist on Saturday. It's just ridiculous giving yourself an excuse to do something. You know what I mean? Just be a man or a woman. You know what I mean? And be a grown up and be an adult and be, a role model to people, and just don't do it. You know what I mean? There's kids and there's people's lives at stake here. You know what I mean? Because you don't know how people are going to react, and it's just a disgusting thing to do to another human. Because you know what I mean? We all know people from different religions, people from different races. You know what I mean? I've played with plenty of players. You know what I mean? From different cultures and things, and I'm just heartbroken for them. And if I was playing football now, I'd want to walk off, because why should I have to listen to it? You know what I mean? Why should, if it was the other way around, I'd like to think that they were backing me up.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I mean? So,
Well, last week we both agreed that the England players should have walked. So the one thing I was happy to see was that both teams walked off. The other team, which I'm really sorry, I can't remember the name. I think it was what was the other team in the game?
I can't remember. Haringey or something like that. Yeah, Haringey. Yeah.
Borough. So Haringey Borough, they basically backed them 100%, and they said, "Look, if you're walking off, we're walking off." And then at the end of the game, they went off they went back onto the pitch all together as a show of solidarity. which I was really happy to see.
Yeah.
And the Harringay coach looked genuinely. The Yeovil coach looked genuinely really pissed off, and he looked like he just couldn't get his head around it at all.
Yeah.
The Harringay coach looked, like you said, he looked upset and close to tears. The Yeovil coach he couldn't seem to grasp it and couldn't get his head around it at all.
Yeah, but things are, mate. Yeah, also for football reasons, for financial reasons, Yeovil aren't a team who are inundated with money, and you know what I mean, can't afford to. You know what I mean? That what we on 60, 65 minutes, 70 minutes. You know what I mean? That game was more or less won. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You look at the bigger picture. You know, they're playing against a non-league side on a plastic pitch. You know what I mean? They'd probably won the game. So financially, getting themselves in the FA Cup first round, they're going to do the game again. And I guarantee you, if that game gets replayed, the home side will absolutely do everything in their power. They'll run 10 miles more than they did last Saturday. You know what I mean? They'll fight for every ball more than they did last Saturday. I'm not saying they didn't this Saturday, but there's a reason behind it now. You know what I mean? There's more hatred now, and the whole of the football pyramid in England will want them to beat Yeovil Town. And that's such a shame, that, you know what I mean? Because I've got no animosity towards Yeovil. I think it's a lovely little football club, but for this one game only, I hope they get absolutely walloped in the FA Cup and don't see the next round.
I kind of hope they get kicked out. To be honest, I don't.
Yeah,
so
do I.
Just if nothing else, for the FA to say to UEFA and FIFA, no, this is how you deal with it.
Yeah.
You don't accept it. You don't make excuses for it. You don't pretend it's not happening. You just get it done.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we've had our rant again.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's the last time we have to speak about it.
Daily rant.
Not because I don't want to speak about it, because I'll speak about it until something's changed. Yeah. But because I just don't want to speak about it. I think it's depressing.
It's
2019, mate.
It's ruining out the good name of a lovely sport. You know what I mean? You don't see it in rugby. You don't hear of it in rugby. Do you know what I mean? The Rugby World Cup's going on. The amount of love and the amount of affection that different countries are showing each other, and we can't even get on with people from down the road. You know what I mean? And for it's just not right. You know what I mean? The respect in rugby is showing football up, and it's quite embarrassing, really.
Yeah, Sunday, Wales in the semi-final, Cardiff, Swansea, and my boys playing.
Big game, big day. That is going to be big day.
Few shandies.
Yes.
So, first game voted for by the fans, by the people. So this week, instead of me and Andy choosing the three main featured games, we put out 3 polls. And we asked you all lovely people to vote for what games you'd like to see as the featured games. So the featured games voted for by the people were Charlton Derby, Boro, West Brom, and Cardiff, Sheffield Wednesday. Me and Andy both agreed, not the games that we would have voted for. No. I think we would have had the Charlton game in there, but we wouldn't have picked the other two. But I think that's what we're going to do. So every Saturday night, I'm going to put up some polls, and you guys can vote for what you would like the 3 main featured games to be. We're still going to, we still go through all the other games anyway, but we just give them the 3 main ones a bit of extra time and Andy's analysis, as it were. So, Charlton 3, Derby 0. Our Derby, the first victims of the international break.
It wasn't a fantastic start after an international break for Derby. To be fair, as Charlton started like a house on fire and got an early goal from Bon after some great work by Williams down on the left, cut it back, a lovely finish. Obviously, I seen through the week that Wayne Rooney's side got knocked out with the MLS, so maybe he could be on his way sooner than we thought. Maybe he might be. I don't know if the contract situation allows this to happen, but after what I saw on Saturday, I think they need all the experience they can get, because they were disastrous. You know what I mean? They just looked all over the place. They didn't really create that many chances. Charlton continued to press in the first half. Should have gone in at least 2 ahead. I think they missed a couple of gilt-edged chances in the first half. After the break, it was just continue wave after wave attacks. Lee Boy was in the stand for his suspension. First game of 3, which could it have a negative impact? Obviously, it didn't on Saturday, which was great for them. He said he tried a new formation, and it just looked effortless for them. They created chance after chance, scored the second goal after set piece, and then the third goal from Conor Gallagher. Outside the box, left footer, was just outstanding. So you know what I mean. A fantastic day for Charlton, and fully deserved against a good Derby side. You know what I mean. I can't work them out if they're just in bad form, if what it is. But you know what I mean. They're hit and miss every week, and they're not hitting the form like they should be. And it's a bad day at the office for Derby County.
Yeah, ironically, after the Tom Lawrence stuff and the with the drink driving, they for the couple of games after that, they played quite well. They got a couple of decent results, and they did quite well. So I was thinking, oh, that's galvanised them, and maybe they're going to get it together now. And then to go to the Valley and just get absolutely not just spanked, but they got dominated in possession, the way they played, everything. They defended not very well, but I mean, they really got outplayed in every single aspect of the game.
Yeah, they did.
I say that, but Derby had more possession. Sorry, so what I just said is complete rubbish. But no, what I mean is they outplayed him and everything, but Derby had more possession but did nothing with it. They had 2 shots on target.
But we've said this, haven't we? We spoke about Leeds United, you know what I mean, and Swansea City, you know what I mean. That this league is defined on goals and goals only. You know what I mean. I know that sounds really stupid, but possession means nothing. You know what I mean. Fulham have dominate possession. They dominate teams' possession week in, week out. You know what I mean. We'll speak about them soon. Another negative result from them. You know what I mean. It's not about keeping the ball. It's about putting the ball into good areas. It's about winning second balls. It's about, you know what I mean, and Derby sometimes, you know what I mean, they've got a coach who enjoys keeping the ball. You know what I mean? This league's not about keeping the ball. You know what I mean? Neil Warnock, he knows all about this league. He knows all about, it's not about keeping the ball. He puts the ball in good areas, you win games. You know what I mean? And obviously we'll speak about Cardiff later on, but it's about percentage football, and it's about getting the ball in the box, and it's about winning games. And by hook or by crook, you've got to try and get there. And at the minute, Derby are miles away in certain games.
Yeah, I thought young Naby Sarr was particularly good for Charlton.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Really good. Great header.
And all this tie as well. All this is without Lyle Taylor as well. Obviously still injured, you know what I mean? So we bigged him up at the start of the season. He's obviously had a long-term injury, you know what I mean? And it's such a shame for Charlton, but bigger picture is, you know what I mean, if they're winning games without him, when he comes back, he's going to make him even stronger, and he's going to score goals, because that's the way that he plays. He scores goals, he's composed, he makes them tick, he creates problems for defenders, and you know what I mean, Charlton hopefully can pick some more points up.
So a couple of weeks ago, I think it was 3 weeks ago, we had a question in the Q&A bit where someone asked you if Preston, Charlton and Luton, if any of them could make the playoffs, and you kind of said maybe Preston, maybe Charlton. And I think I said the week after, I quite fancy Charlton, solely because, apart from the fact they're a very good side, Lee Bowyer, tactically, I think has shown himself to be quite a special manager so far. When you think how long he's been a manager, you know, especially at this level, tactically, he has shown so many different sides to his game. Changing formation, changing shape, changing tactics, changing everything. Like you said, he changed his formation again, and he spanked one of the biggest teams in the Championship.
No, he's doing a fab job. He's doing, you know what I mean. This was no fluke as well, by the way. We just said there, you know what I mean. What, Derby had 2 shots, so if both of Derby's shots go in the net, they still lose the game. This is the bigger picture, you know what I mean. And if we're talking about every shot going in, you know what I mean, that Charlton would have absolutely walloped them more than 3. You know what I mean? And 3 was probably a good result for Derby on the day, because Charlton missed some probably better chances of what they scored. And you know what I mean? I'd be a little bit concerned if I was a Derby fan, because you know what I mean, this Wayne Rooney palaver, you know what I mean, is it what Derby County need at the minute? You know what I mean? They've had so many negative things going on at the minute. Do they need something else? And the expectation, you know what I mean, that Wayne Rooney's not going to get an easy ride in the Championship, by the way, by no means. You know what I mean? People are going to enjoy winding him up, enjoy kicking him, enjoy upsetting him, enjoy beating him. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a tough season for Derby. It's going to be a long Christmas, I believe, a long December coming up before the window opens for Derby County.
Yeah, the thing is with Rooney is he does get wound up, doesn't he? He does react
very easily.
He's been a bit better over the last few years, but I mean, it does let it get to him, particularly if the side is losing, because he's very competitive, obviously, as you know, as all professionals are, but him in particular, he's got that competitive personality, which makes him very fiery if the side are not clicking. And as I said to you a couple of weeks ago or recently on one of the shows, I think him coming in as a player coach puts tremendous pressure on Koku, because they're 15th now. If they keep losing or keep dropping points between now and January, they could be in the relegation zone when Rooney comes in.
Yeah.
All it's going to take is a few more bad performances. Koku is going to get sacked in January. They're going to give Rooney the job till the end of the season and say, spend some money.
If he gets sacked when Wayne's there, he's 100% taken over, because he has to, you know what I mean, because he's already there, and you know what I mean, who else are they going to bring in? It's a cheap option because he's there and he's already getting paid. So it's, you know what I mean, I think it's the bigger picture for Derby County, but they need to do better. You know what I mean? The manager can't keep on putting results and performances in like he did on Saturday, you know what I mean, to be a success, because Derby have been used to finishing in the playoffs, so the expectation is that they're going to get in the playoffs, and you know what I mean, they're a million miles away from that happening at the minute.
Yeah, and I think Wayne's being very shrewd by taking, Derby's a big club, player coach. He knows that eventually the manager's going to, if the manager does well, he's going to go somewhere for a bigger job. Yeah. If he doesn't do well, he's going to get sacked, and Wayne can take over. You know, if you look around, the players who he played for England with, they're all in jobs, in their first jobs now.
Yeah.
You know, your Gerrards, your Lampards, Bowyers, Woodgate. You know, the list is endless. There's a lot of players who he played with for England or elsewhere who are now in managerial jobs. He's coming to the end of his career. He's playing in America. You know, he's made it clear he wants to be a manager, and I think this is a clever route to go with.
Yeah, totally agree.
Okay, next up we've got Boro 0, West Brom 1. I'll leave this one to you.
Oh, it's not getting any better, any easier for Middlesbrough. You know what I mean? This was a lot better. You know what I mean? They created some good chances. Paddy McNair was unlucky not to score in the first half. They had some good possession. You know what I mean? They went toe to toe with a very, very good side. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, when your chances come, you've got to put them away. And you know what I mean? The longer the game goes, and you're playing against a West Brom side, you look at their side and you look at the players that can hurt you. I thought Pereira was excellent throughout. He was a threat constant in the game. Diagana, every time he got the ball, he looked like he was going to make something happen. And when you've got those two in behind the centre forward, you know what I mean, you're always going to cause people a problem. And Diagana did great for Robson Kanu's goal. I thought when he came on, you know what I mean, you're getting a fresh approach. You know what I mean? 1 minute you've got one centre forward, the next minute you've got a Robson Kanu. And I just thought, you know what I mean, it's a matter of time until West Brom score. And when they eventually did score, Middlesbrough were never getting back in the game, and the concerning thing for me is that's 5 defeats on the bounce. You know, I mean, the players. It's the things that are coming out for me. The things that are coming out after a game, in line of we're unlucky. You know what I mean? You can't be unlucky 5 games on the belt. You can be unlucky in the odd game and unlucky at 0-0 that you didn't win the game, but you've got beat. You haven't scored again, and it's just going to be a transition period. I can understand, but. The manager's now stating that we're so many points away from 12th position. Well, we're 1 point away from relegation, and if you get beat on Tuesday night against Huddersfield Town, that you go in relegation. You know what I mean? Then you're playing Fulham, and then you've got I think you've got Swansea and Leeds United. So the league table doesn't lie. You know what I mean? And they're rightly so where they are, and it is a concerning time because. And I've said this on the show, people can look back to the first episode. What I've said, if the chairman or the chief executive or whoever comes out in the paper on the TV and says his successful season this season would be for Middlesbrough Football Club to stay in the league, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? But somebody come out and say that. Don't come out and say that that we want to try and get promoted and we want to try and get in the playoffs, because it's not realistic. You know what I mean? The realistic aim is to stay in this league at the minute. You know what I mean? And I don't know who to believe, or you know what I mean, what's going on. It's so negative at the minute. And Huddersfield Town on Tuesday night is going to be a really tough game, and a game that I'm not really looking forward to in terms of being a Middlesbrough fan.
Yeah, I thought Middlesbrough were better on Saturday.
Yeah, they were, but
problem...
there's been better though, and there's you know what I mean. Stoke City are better from where they were. Huddersfield are better than where they were. You know what I mean? I just don't think we're making as much progress as our teams are making, and because they've started so low and we started a little bit higher because we started the season a little bit better. You know what I mean? We're dropping like a stone at the minute, and that's my concern.
Yeah, my one worry would be, outside of McNair and Sam Johnston, I don't think there's any kind of standout performers or players who you can look at and say, well, they're doing well despite the team not doing very well.
Yeah.
And that would be a worry. And you don't look really like scoring. You know, Paddy McNair is not really, you know, he's generally, he's a centre-back or a defensive midfielder by trade, but he seems to be the biggest goal threat.
Yeah.
Week in, week out.
If things on, mate, if we had set pieces and we and that's what we went for, and we were competitive and we went for corners, it'd be a little bit better. But you know what I mean, we take short corners, we don't get enough crosses in the box. We've got a 10.5 million centre forward who doesn't score any goals.
I was going to say, what's going on with Britt Assombalonga?
I don't know if his confidence. I'd probably like to see the manager bring him out for a little bit, stick him on the bench, give him a little bit of auto confidence, give him a little bit of a rest. You know what I mean? You're sticking him in the side, and people are man-marking him out the game and just seeing him off, and it's such a... It's disheartening for him, you know what I mean? I look at formations, and the times that Britt scored loads of goals, he's played up front with somebody, you know what I mean? Peterborough played up front with a big man, you know what I mean? It takes the pressure off him. He's running a lone furry up front on his own, is for me a small centre forward, and I do feel for him a little bit, because that's similar to asking me to play up front on my own when I'd have hated it. Honestly, I'd have hated it, because asking Ernie to do it, you know what I mean? He'd have hated it, you know what I mean? Peter Thorne, Leo took the pressure off, and you know what I mean? Ernie was able to play the game that we wanted to, and leave all that fighting for somebody else. But when you're playing up front on your own, you've got to do that and more, you know what I mean? And you've got to do the chase, and you've got to make something happen, and you know what I mean? And then when you do get the ball, if you haven't seen the ball for quite a long time, then you've got to look after it, and it's not sticking, and that's when you're not playing very well, and the results aren't going for you. But you know what I mean, Middlesbrough have got to do better. You know what I mean? They are improving, but you know what I mean. Let's say they have a bad game. Imagine if Middlesbrough start playing badly, then they ain't just going to lose. They're going to get beaten heavily. You know what I mean? Then what's next? You know what I mean? Because if the manager's not going to lose his job now, to be honest, he's never going to lose it, because they are going to pick up results. So if you're not going to leave, if you didn't get rid of him in the window with the 2 weeks to bring in a new manager, then I agree. Keep him, back him, give him an opportunity to do it. But for me, give him a little bit of auto confidence and say, listen, you keep this football club up. You've had a successful season as your manager. Not get to the end of the season and say you failed because you didn't get us in the playoffs. It's never going to happen. So you know what I mean? You don't want to try and put false pretenses under supporters who pay very good money to go watch a football club.
Yeah. In terms of West Brom, with Britt Assombalonga, for me, he just looks shot. His confidence looks shot. And I think you're right. He could probably do with a game or two out, but not just dropped. He needs to have like a bit of a pep talk and told, you're my guy. You're still my guy. I'm just giving you a rest, and then you're going to come back in firing on all cylinders, and maybe find a partner for you.
Yeah.
But maybe the problem is depth of squad.
Well, you look at West Brom, mate. You know what I mean. You look at their squad. You know what I mean. They've got, like I say, they had Diagana who played in behind. You've got Pereira playing in behind. You know what I mean. Those two are excellent footballers who create chances. You know what I mean. And then on top of that, you've got your centre forwards. You know what I mean. In your centre forwards, you started with Charlie Austin. You know what I mean. And then you've got on the bench, you've got your Robson Carnews. You know what I mean. That not even in the squad you had your Zaha. You know what I mean. So it's it's never ending. And Middlesbrough haven't got that luxury, you know what I mean, to not have players on the bench or not have players in the squad and to have somebody on the bench, you know what I mean. Brist's playing every single minute of every single game because they don't have another option. And the only other option at the minute is a young lad, Stevie Walker. And, you know what I mean, the way the team's playing at the minute, that could make or break him. And at the minute, the way they're playing, it's going to break him. And, you know what I mean, the manager's probably right to not put extra pressure and ruin a young football career. But at the same time, it's killing. It's killing probably a centre forward who's losing value by the week as well. Because if you are planning on selling him or teams are looking to buy him, you know what I mean, they're certainly not going to recoup the £10.5 million that Middlesbrough paid for him.
No. In terms of West Brom, you know, when you can bring on someone like Hal Robson-Kano off the bench, you know, you means you've got a very good championship squad.
Slaven Bilic, he knows exactly what he's doing, mate. He's an experienced coach, stroke manager. You know what I mean? He's built a squad and he's had a dream or he's had a remit of what he wants and he's been backed. And that's the most important thing for me. He's been backed by his chairman. The fans are buying into what he's doing and they took a risk. Because if West Brom don't get promoted this year, by the way, they potentially will be financially hit because they will be spending an absolute fortune. They've got to be one of the biggest spenders in the league, wages wise. You know what I mean? Got to be. And you know what I mean? If they don't go up, it's gonna be a massive hit for them.
Well, I bet Slaven Bilic is on a fair few quid because, you know, don't get me. Let's make no mistake. He's a top European manager. He's not a championship manager. You know, he could. Couple of years ago, you'd have been very surprised if he didn't get like a top Champions League job. He's a very, very good manager with a very, very good squad. Anything outside of top two finish is failure for them, I think, particularly in the position they're in now as well. But even, you know, you just don't know. With this league, you just don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, yeah, Pereira, incredible. Really good.
And you know what? For a championship side to get hold of him is just brilliant because, you know what I mean? It just gives an opportunity to speak about him week in, week out. He's getting better and better with games. And I still think West Brom are probably in second or third gear. I still think there's a couple of gears left. And, you know what I mean? They're at the top of the league. And, you know what I mean? If teams don't stop them, you know what I mean? Going away to Middlesbrough is a tough game. You know what I mean? So for me, it was quite comfortable in the end that they go and get a 1-0 victory. But if they're at home, they seem to be scoring regular goals, 3s and 4s, letting a couple of goals in now and again. But if they can do that week in, week out, and you know what I mean, they'll run away with the league if teams aren't careful.
Yeah, spot on, mate. Do you think with West Brom? I just think you're right. They are stuck in like second or third gear, and they could sort of up it at any point. But equally, I didn't think they played particularly well against Middlesbrough, and they still won. And I think that's the sign of the teams which are going to finish at the top. Your Leeds, your West Broms, your Stoke, maybe, is if they can grind out those results when they don't play well. I say Stoke because I've got a feeling they're going to go on a big long run. But you know what I mean? Like your Leeds, they've been grinding out results of late where they haven't played great. They're not scoring as freely, but they're just grinding out your 2-1s and your 1-0s. And they're the results which culminate in big long runs more so than your 4-0s and your 3-0s. It's those ground out results which make the difference. Speaking of being ground down, Cardiff fan. Next up, Cardiff won. Sheffield Wednesday won.
It's so frustrating. You know, I was so excited on Friday night when I realised the game was on. When the game was on Friday, I thought it was on Saturday, so I was really pleased when I found out it was on, and I was able to watch it. So excited. Looked at the team, excited again. You know what I mean? Excited to see Park and Gratzel and. You know what I mean? And then the game started, and then it was just a little bit like, and I think that's my my biggest point at the minute. That you know what I mean? The team on paper, and then the team what I'm watching is not the same thing, or it doesn't seem to be working as well as I expected to, as well as the fans expected to. I certainly think the manager's not getting the most out of the players like he has done in the past, and it's just causing a big problem because, you know what I mean, it's 2 points dropped week in, week out, and this is another two. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they deserve to get 3 points, by the way, because it was far from it. I don't think, you know what I mean? I think it was a point at best. I'm not saying Sheffield Wednesday were good, because I didn't think they were that great either. I think probably a point would have been their a fair result in the end, because I don't think any team really ran away with the game. But Sheffield started better, started stronger in the game. They just seemed to out-battle. Barry Banham got on the ball. He was making things tick, and the Cardiff midfield couldn't really get anywhere near him. You know what I mean? And my biggest surprise in the game was when Gary Monk took him off. He took him off when Cardiff were going forward and putting long balls in. He stuck a bit of height on the pitch, but then they lost that composure on the ball, and then they were just a sitting duck then. You know what I mean? That give Cardiff a chance to get back into it. So as a Cardiff fan, Gary Monk used his Swansea tactics and got Cardiff back in the game. But you know what I mean? I think Cardiff were not going to get back in that game apart from the way they did, or from the set piece, another set piece, maybe it's a corner. You know what I mean? I thought Harris for Sheffield was electric in the first half. He was being nice and positive, going on the outside, going on the inside, and for the goal, I thought it was a great run. I thought it was an Aidan Flint on goal the first time I saw it, because I thought he hit it that well. I thought he just took a deflection, and Etheridge just stuck his arm out to try and save it. Wasn't expecting it. And then in the end, when I seen the goal by Borna, it was just a tidy little flick finish, and you know what I mean, for a defender to do that was a great goal. But it just gave Cardiff an uphill task second half, and I just didn't see them getting back into it. You know what I mean? The longer the game went, didn't see it happening. A couple of subs, which I was surprised with. Danny Ward's done great. He has, don't get me wrong, but I think I would have brought Tomlin on, because that game was crying out for Cardiff to have that number 10 role, and not probably to have another centre forward up front with Gratzel at the time, for me, in my opinion. But Tomlin's free kick was excellent. And then I'll talk about the Aidan Flint role for me. People, you know, I mean, I've had a debate over the weekend about, was he offside? Was he not offside? Was he interfering? Was he not interfering? He was putting the keeper off. That's all he was doing. He was jumping up and down. He was doing star jumps. He was being a nuisance. He's 6'7" or whatever he is. He was doing star jumps, taking the goalkeeper's mind off what he should have been doing. And then Lee Tomlin put the ball in the opposite corner. The ball didn't go anywhere near Aidan Flint. So for me, it's never, ever, ever going to be called offside. Ever in the world. Ever. But a point, decent result in the end side, I think, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll start with the free kick then, because I just thought I agree with you completely. But what I feel is that the keeper was out of position by about 3 yards. He was 3 yards too far over to the left. And his first, as a goalkeeper, when you're training, they tell you for your first 2-3 steps to be short and quick, so that you can explosively dive and get a big jump in or a big dive in to get as far across the goal as quick as you can. And I felt like he was too far over to the left, meant that even if he had 2 or 3 quick steps, he still wouldn't have got there. The fact that his initial steps were very poor and slow, or sluggish, I would say, rather than slow, meant that he was never going to get there. And I felt like he knew that, because as soon as, even if you watch it, it was almost like before the ball went in, he was already getting up to have a go at the ref, because he knew he had made like a bit of an error. Don't get me wrong, technically he's offside, and he is putting him off, but it doesn't go anywhere near him. And a keeper, professional goalkeeper, should be able to concentrate enough on the ball, not the guy making silly faces and doing stupid stuff. You know, he's professional. Just watch the ball. That's what you tell kids when they're young. That's what you tell them when they first start playing football. Watch the ball, don't watch the man. And I felt like, yeah, his positioning was wrong. His footwork wasn't great. And then he got distracted by the guy. You know, it's tough, basically. He should have been more focused. He should have been better positioned. So, from a Cardiff point of view, very, 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 very just disjointed, poor I look at the wingers that we've got, and I've said week in, week out, we've got 4 good wingers at Cardiff who on their day can be the best wingers in the Championship. The problem is you never know when their day is going to be. So that's why Warnock is constantly picking different combinations of them because he just doesn't know which ones are going to turn up. And
I was surprised he didn't play Gavin White, but for me,
he's been the pick of them.
Imagine being a player though, Si, and you don't really know if you're going to play. You know what I mean? So there's just no consistency. You know what I mean? So players don't get that 5, 6, 7 game run of confidence because you play one week and because you've got that many good players who are similar. You know what I mean? People are getting rotated around. You know what I mean? We're not. No offense, Cardiff City and No Man City. You know what I mean? They haven't got the amount of games. They've just had international break. So Gavin White, for example, started before the international break. He's had 2 weeks off, and now he didn't play again on the Saturday. So he's had 3 weeks off. It doesn't make sense to me. And that's as a football fan. That's as an ex-player. You know what I mean? You want to play all the time. You know what I mean? You want to play as much as you can, and you know what I mean. As a player, you're going to be massively disappointed, but then you're going to be even more so disappointed when the results don't go your way because that's when you get frustrated about it because it's, you know what I mean. If they win, you've got no argument. You can't complain. But when they don't win, you've got every right to say what you want, how you feel, and same with supporters. I think that's why there's a lot of frustration going around.
Yeah, and Gavin White, he's been the pick of them. You know, he's been the best of the 4 wingers. And I'll come back to the rotation thing and the trying to give players a run of games in a minute. But also, I looked at Kadeem Harris, who's had a run of games and is in the best form he's been in for three seasons. He's been incredible.
He's getting better and better and better week in, week out. He's grown with confidence. He's looking like an experienced pro. You know what I mean? People are giving him the ball, and you know what I mean. They're just being. Do you know what? Like a breath of fresh air. You know what I mean? And gliding past people, looking confidence, going left, going right. And this is what you want to see. You want to see your own players doing it. You know what I mean? It just looks like at the minute a lack of confidence. You know what I mean? That Mendes-Lang gets the ball and he doesn't really go and commit people like you want him to. He'll go up to the defender and then turn back and pass it back.
Yeah.
You want your winger being positive. How many crosses can your winger put in the box? That's you know what I mean? You look at Gratzel. Gratzel's defined by the amount of goals he scores. How's he going to score goals if the ball's not put in the box? Dead simple. You know what I mean? He's the kind of player who thrives with the ball in the box. Same as Mitrovic. If Mitrovic doesn't get balls in the box, he'll be screaming at his wingers, screaming at Knockout, screaming at Calaviero. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Cardiff need to go back to the Zaha type of football, putting the ball in the box and making things happen because get set pieces, get long throws, get corners, put Aidan Flint up front, getting free kicks on the edge of the box. Cardiff can be a threat. You know what I mean? Start playing this intricate football, this Fulham football, and that's not their bag. It's not their cup of tea, unfortunately.
No, and I think the difference between Cardiff's wingers and Kadeem Harris wanted the ball all the time, and as soon as he got the ball, he turned, faced up the defender, and tried to beat him. And like you say, Cardiff's wingers don't really want the ball, and when they get it, they kind of go backwards. Going back to what you were saying about players wanting to have a run of games to be able to, you know, find their footing in the team, find their form, find young players, particularly they want to be able to, you know, feel their way into it a bit. So Lee Tomlin, a couple of seasons ago, was one of the best players in the Championship. He is arguably one of the best number 10s in the Championship on his day. Cardiff are screaming out for a number 10 who's creative. They need some creativity because they've got none. Where the wing, particularly if their wingers aren't performing or if their wingers aren't being wingers, they have nothing going forward to help Gratzel. Lee Tomlin's got to play. Lee Tomlin has to start. He has to start and he has to play 5, 6, 7 games in a row. If that means you've got to take him off after an hour and replace him with Junior Hoylett or whoever, Danny Ward, do it. But he's got to start.
How's he going to get fit, Si? How's he going to get fit if he doesn't play games? You know what I mean? Forget this 10, 15, 20, 25 minutes. Like you say, he needs 60 minutes, 65 minutes. Next week, 70 minutes, 75 minutes. You know what I mean? he needs to get fit. He needs to lose weight. He needs to get his match sharpness. You know what I mean? He's got the ability. You know what I mean? There's no questioning that, undoubtedly. You know what I mean? And he follows me on Twitter, by the way, now, after I built him up on Twitter the other night. So,
Did you?
You know what I mean? So, yeah, best mates now.
You know what you need to do, don't you? You need to DM him to get him on.
Get him on. Get him on. I tell you what, if he keeps scoring goals, he can come on and sit on my knee. But no, in all seriousness, mate, you know what I mean? There's been no doubt in his whole career. You know what I mean? I watched him at Middlesbrough. I've seen him at Nottingham Forest. I've seen him at Cardiff. It doesn't surprise me that he's played for all these big clubs, because that's how good the boy is. You know what I mean? He's a natural talent, but he needs to play football, and probably wants to play football. So,
stupid thing is, Cardiff need him. Like, they need his type of player to get through this barren patch that they're having.
Yeah.
And he needs starts to get fit to get to his appropriate level. So it doesn't seem to correlate why he's not starting.
I totally agree. I totally agree. He needs to play and we need him. So, you know what I mean? I know he had his illness, and you know what I mean? But for me, and I'm probably old school, you know what I mean? I don't look at things probably in the sports science that maybe I should, but if you're a substitute, you're fit. You know what I mean? Because you could come on after a minute. So if you're sub, you can play. So why not play first half? How do you feel, Lee? Can you give me another 5, 10, 15 minutes? Yes, Gaffer, I feel fine. Leave me on until I'm down on my feet. You watch him first 5 minutes, he's struggling. His legs have gone. Right, no problem. Lee, off you come, son. Do you know what I mean? You've got to give him you've got to give him that opportunity to get things right. And I'm not here slagging Neil Warnock off. I just think he's a talented player, and he's on par with the Bradley Dacks of this world, the Pereiras of this world, who are creating chances and knockouts. You know what I mean? Each team's got one. Cardiff's got one, but it's impossible to set a chance up or score a goal while he's sat on his backside.
Facts indeed, mate.
Facts.
Last question on the Cardiff game then. There's rumours that Bakuna, when he was taken off, went down the tunnel and he was not happy, banging some doors and whatnot. Have you ever been taken off in the first half when you weren't injured?
I'll tell you a story. It happened twice to me, but it was obviously it was tactics. So we had someone sent off in the first 15 minutes. So it was one Saturday. Somebody got sent off, so they brought me off, and then the following Saturday, Gaffer started me again. Somebody got sent off after 3 minutes, and I got brought off again. So you know what I mean, for a tactical decision, you know what I mean, and I was so disappointed, and so I was looking at the team thinking, who else could he have brought off? And I probably thought to myself, there's 3 of us, you know what I mean, so why me again? But then the bigger picture, we got a positive result, and you know what I mean, if he wasn't injured and he's done it for a tactical reason and they turned the game around and we got a result, can't really, you know what I mean, you can't really argue about it, you know what I mean. I thought it was a strange one if he wasn't injured or there was something not right, you know what I mean. But to go down the tunnel and allegedly start kicking things and you know what I mean, is not the right thing to do. You know what I mean? Sky cameras are there. The amount of people who are there at football games who go down the tunnels, you know what I mean, you're always going to get found out. So, you know what I mean, sometimes it's best to sit there, bite your tongue, put your jacket over your head, do whatever you need to do, and then go in at half time. And then once the second half starts, feel free to drive home and be in a bad mood when you go home. But I mean, there's that many people now with phone cameras and stuff that you can't even sneeze without getting caught at the minute. No,
I think from what I can gather, it was a tactical decision, and I feel like players they almost feel embarrassed if they're hauled off in the first half. Like Mourinho's famous for it, and he's hauled off players in 20 minutes into a game because they're not doing the job he wanted them to do, or he's seen something. And I do feel like maybe he was frustrated that he didn't get, you know, to me, if he was coming off at half time, why wait till half time to make the change? If you think it's going to change the way the game is going, why wait 10 minutes? You know, make the decision now. But I can see why it would be frustrating for him, particularly because he's been in very good form. So, you know, maybe he felt like he deserved, you know, like a few more minutes or deserved to have till half time to try and turn it around, but you just don't know, do you? I suppose the reasoning behind it, because I think he got took off after 32 minutes, wasn't it?
Yeah, and you know what I mean. Obviously, the game wasn't going the way that Cardiff wanted to, so the manager made a decision and they got a positive result in the end. So you know what I mean. He's got to be applauded for that, because if Danny Ward goes and scores, you know what I mean. I didn't think he had a great game when he came up. If Danny Ward goes and scores a goal, you know what I mean. The decision's justified, but Cardiff got a positive result in the end. So a point gained, I think. Even though I've just said earlier on about points being dropped, I think in the bigger picture they've dropped 2 points. But the way the game panned out, it was.
Yeah.
And the game with the end of it was a point gained, yeah. But you know what I mean, they're drawing too many games and they need to pick up sharpish.
Yes, well, it's Cardiff, they're unbeaten at home, but equally.
Yeah, but I don't think they've won many games, have they, at the same time? So
very poor. Yeah. Okay, so that's our 3 main featured games. We'll now sort of go through the other games a bit quicker, but we'll still spend a bit of time talking about them. So next up is Blackburn, who've been very good this season so far, and the rejuvenated Huddersfield Town in a 2-2 draw.
This was entertaining, to be fair. It was was a local derby, and just over the Pennines, and
not far.
Huddersfield started quite bright, got a penalty. I'm not sure if it was for handball or if he tackled him with his head. You know what I mean? It was a strange one, but I'm sure it is hand. But then he tackled him with his head because the lad flew over. So but for me it was a pen, because you know what I mean. It was desperation. You know what I mean. He slipped, but then once you start putting your head and your hand in certain areas, you know what I mean. The lad's got every right to kick the ball against hand or go over it, because it's you know what I mean. It was a good penalty as well. I thought Huddersfield started quite brightly. I was quite impressed with them, to be honest. But then Blackburn started to show their quality, and Lewis Holtby, I know you spoke about him the last couple of weeks, and you know what I mean. I can't believe they've got him. I'll be honest, I can't believe they've got him. And when you know what I mean. But he's not the only player that they've got, by the way, who I'm surprised. You know what I mean. They're starting to bring a decent squad of players into the fold. So he scored a very good goal. Bradley Dack set him up, and then ties were swapped, and Holtby set up Bradley Dack. And you know what I mean. The show knows I'm a huge fan of Dack, and you know what I mean. I'll be massively surprised if Blackburn can keep hold of him in the January window, because he's scoring goals, he's creating chances, he's making them tick. Blackburn, I can't see making the playoffs, so I'll be honest. You know what I mean. I just don't see them. You know what I mean. On paper they've got a good side, but I just can't see them making it. And I think if they lose one player or 2 players in the window, especially Bradley Dack, it'll be a huge miss. And then Bakuna came on and got his goal within about 2 or 3, 4 minutes, and I thought they were good value for the draw. You know what I mean? Like the brothers have done a great job so far. They're unbeaten in 4. Play Middlesbrough on Tuesday night at home, which could get them out the bottom 3 for the first time this season. And you know what I mean? Good luck to them. I think they fully deserve the accolades, especially what we've given them, because you know what I mean. I think I certainly wrote them off. Probably 8 games ago, 7 games ago, bottom of the league comfortably, rubbish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sacked the manager, took too long to bring a new manager in, and you know what I mean. Fair play to them now. They're turning things around, and a successful season for them would be mid-table, and you know what I mean. I can see them easily achieving that easily.
Yeah, I mean, we were concerned that they were going to keep falling and get relegated into League One at one point. So I mean, for them to turn around the way they have, they need to keep going. They're not out of complete danger yet. But I mean, you know, you'd think now going on from this, they'll probably go on and have a decent enough season. I thought Lewis Holtby, excellent, and it was like what you just said. You said you can't believe they got him. I can't believe he's playing championship football. I can't believe that on a free there wasn't, with no disrespect to them, there's not a bigger club who would have taken him on a free.
Well, Norwich City, Newcastle United, do you know what I mean? Brighton Hove Albion, do you know what I mean? A side
Man United, mate. Man United. Man United
at the minute, yeah. Man United at the minute, yeah. But you know what I mean. But we just said about Pereira. You know what I mean. These conversations, what we're having, they're even better now, because these teams are attracting these kind of players, and it's making the championship even better, because Lewis Holtby, you know what I mean, he's going to be in the championship now for the rest of the season at least, you know what I mean, and it's making it a great season, and it's going to be a even better season, because that's why Blackburns are going to upset and beat some of the bigger sides, because they've got players who can open a door. They've got players who can score goals. You've got the Grahams, you've got the Downings, you've got the Dacks, you've got the Armstrongs, you've got the Holtbys. You know what I mean? These players. You know what I mean? The Blackburn Rovers, they must be laughing their heads off. You know what I mean? They shouldn't be where they are in the league. By the way, I've just 14th in the league, and I've just reeled off. I've just reeled off five players who could all have been playing in the Premier League. It's ridiculous.
They're 14th in the league, and they've been really good this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I know.
Mad, I know. This is worrying. Yeah.
Just finishing on that, Janino Bakuna, 3 goals in 3 games, off the bench. What's he have to do to get a start?
I know, but some players, we look at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, mate, that you know what I mean, some players are made to be sub. You know what I mean? Some players are made to start games, and the manager sees the way the games are going and puts him on, and he's scoring straight away. And you know what I mean? It's obviously justifying the decision why the manager keeps putting him on. But you know what I mean? As a player, if he's scoring one from coming on for 20, 30 minutes, then imagine what damage he could do in 70, 80 minutes. You know what I mean? So I'm sure, as a Middlesbrough fan, I'd like to see him on the bench on Tuesday night. But if I'm honest, I think he'll be thrown in because, you know what I mean? I can see him. The manager's looking at this game thinking, this is a winnable game. Get at them. You know what I mean? We've got someone there who's desperate and wants to score goals. Is scoring goals, and you know what I mean, to let the reins off and tell him to go and fill his boots, really.
Yeah, definitely. Next up, Barnsley 1, Swansea 1.
Game or 2 goalkeepers, and I'm going to mention it later on. Some of the saves that I saw in this game, and some of the misses what I saw in this game were absolutely awful. But attacking football, it was like the midfield wasn't relevant. It was like the midfield wasn't there. It was like that. Let's play with 8 aside. Let's play with no midfield. We'll just play attack against defence today, and let's shoot on sight and just have some fun. And you know what I mean? I am massive. Well, I was massively concerned for Barnsley until I watched the highlights of this game because you know what I mean. The run, Swansea were a very good side. They run them really close. You know what I mean? On another day they could have beaten them. On another day they probably could have lost against them. You know what I mean? They had 19 shots on goal. You know what I mean? 19 shots is ridiculous. Considering the bottom of the league, you know what I mean, that they've scored 9 goals all season. You know what I mean? So that probably tells you the story. You know what I mean? 19 shots. Are they getting close enough? Are they hitting the target enough? The answer is no. You know what I mean? With the chances that they missed, and some gilt-edged chances, by the way, some good goalkeeping, but 9 goals in 12 games is not enough. You know what I mean? They've let in the most goals in the Championship. They've scored the least. By 1, there's only Wigan who've scored 10. Sorry, they've scored 9. It's not enough. You know what I mean? They're in a different animal now. The Championship, we've just named 5 players there who's going to hurt you, score goals against you. You know what I mean? Some of the chances that Barnsley are missing are criminal, and that's going to be the difference when they look back at the end of the season. Is why did we get relegated? Why did we struggle? We struggled because we didn't score enough goals.
Yeah, they weren't clinical in any way, and
No.
there was 2 or 3 chances which were, you know, gotta be scoring those chances at this level. Some really poor finishing. A couple of some good saves made by both keepers.
Great save.
When do we start to worry about Swansea from a neutral point of view? Because since the
Sunday
first
night,
international break, they've had a problem.
Sunday night after Cardiff have walloped them. I'm not bothered until that, I'll be honest. No, I'm only joking. They're having a bad time, Si, but they're 3rd in the league.
It's crazy.
So, do you know what I mean? And, you know what I mean? They've won 1 in 8. You know what I mean? So it's concerning form. Drew, obviously, then lost. Beat Charlton. Drew against Reading. Lost against Bristol. Drew against Bristol City. Lost against Nottingham Forest, and then obviously they had their good run, which is why they are where they are. You know what I mean? But every team's going to have a bad run, and this is my concern about certain teams, that if this is their bad run and they're still 3rd in the league, when they start to turn the tables and start doing well, they're still only 3 points off the top of the league, and you know what I mean. A win on Sunday could put them top of the league again. You know what I mean? So this is how tight and how much of a good position they're in. You know what I mean? They need a game which is going to turn their season. And you know what I mean? As a Cardiff ex-player, a Cardiff fan, probably the Cardiff game coming up is a good game for Swansea to go into, because they're going to be, it's a local derby, the expectation, you know what I mean. They've got a big game to look forward to. You know what I mean? They've got a home game in the week against Brentford, you know what I mean? So 2 home games this week, you know what I mean? Brentford won't be easy in midweek, but you know what I mean? 2 home games, no travelling this week for them, you know what I mean? And then obviously the huge game on Sunday to look forward to, and it's you know what I mean? They'll turn it around, I believe, you know what I mean? But you know what I mean? For them to be in contention, they need to do it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I can't believe they're still third, because since the first international break, they just seem to have, compared to where they were before the international break, they've capitulated, but not in a way where they're losing lots of games. They're just not scoring, and they're not playing as well as they were.
Well,
and they're dropping points.
On that point side, then style of football, you know what I mean? Everyone goes on about the Swansea way, the way that Swansea play football. Do you know what I mean? For me, I've not seen that the last 4 weeks, 4 games. No. Do you know what I mean? Even when they beat Charlton, you know what I mean? It wasn't then the Swansea way. Do you know what I mean? They were, at the minute, I've seen them putting long balls forward to AU. You know what I mean? Because he's a lot more aggressive. He's a direct player. You know what I mean? Have they got that link, or have they not got that link where they can bounce 1-2s off the front man? You know what I mean? Is that the problem? Is that the issue? You know what I mean? Swansea fans tell us. You know what I mean? I'm not here to slag you off. I love the way that they play football when they do it the way that they do it. You know what I mean? When they play the way they play, there's no team better, and the teams who are trying to emulate that and copy it in this league can't do it. You know what I mean? There's only one team probably Leeds and Nottingham Forest. You know what I mean? They can do it in this league, and you know what I mean, when they do it, there's no better team who can do it, and they break at you really quickly. They get it wide, and they attack you really direct and really fast. And I'm not seeing that the last 3-4 weeks. And like you say, you know what I mean, when will it turn round? I'm sure it will, but you know what I mean. It's got to happen soon, and I think I just hope it doesn't happen on Sunday.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. Next up was the 5-goal thriller. Brentford 3, Millwall 2. Oh dear, Millwall, what were you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna talk about this later on a little bit in more detail. But 6 minutes to go, 2-0 ahead. You know what I mean? You've already the keeper's already saved a penalty. Ollie Watkins misses a penalty. Tom Bradshaw scores. Wallace scores a penalty for Simba. It was like a rugby tackle actually, with the rugby theme in the Rugby World Cup going on. But for a couple of the penalties, it shouldn't happen. You're 2-0 up away from home. The worst you come away with is a point. You know what I mean? You know, I know that sounds really ridiculous, but you know what I mean? If you're sitting at 2-0 up, you give a goal away, you can't just sit again, and then you're 2-2, you can't just sit again. You've got to try and do something different. You know what I mean? You're a sitting duck away from home against attacking side players who've got the momentum, and you're just giving chance after chance after chance away, cross after cross, not stopping crosses, and you're going to get punished. And you know what I mean? And I'm sure that Dave Livermore, who's obviously in caretaker charge, he'll learn a lot from this. Because if he wants a job or he doesn't want a job, that's not the way to defend. He was a very good defender back in his day, but you can't just sit and defend Leeds. You know what I mean? Because Brentford have got to come at you. They have to. They're 2-0 down. They're going to leave massive gaps. You know what I mean? So exploit them. If you keep going the same way you do and score and keep going at teams like you have, you've got more chances to win games in this league. And if you sit there like Middlesbrough did, like Cardiff have done this season, and think you can defend better than you are, you're going to get punished. You know what I mean? And teams keep peppering the ball in your box and putting it in. They're going to get a rub of the green soon. And you know what I mean? Some of the goals were outstanding. You know what I mean? The second goal, scored by. Oh, let me just check. Scored by. Well, I'm not going to give his name. Oh, what a finish! Left foot. Yeah. He certainly meant it. Top corner. It was an excellent finish. But you've still got to stop. You can still stop the shot or stop the cross.
Yeah, look
you know
how
what I mean?
much they stood off him.
Yeah, you can't let him do it. You know what I mean? You wouldn't let David Beckham do that, would you? So
no.
It doesn't matter. You've got to give these players respect. They're good footballers. They're going to hurt you. If you're going to let somebody shoot, there's an opportunity. It's going to go in the back of your net. But if you stop him shooting, there's a chance it won't go in.
especially when literally 4 minutes earlier they've just conceded to make it 2-1.
Yeah.
You've gotta be like in their face then. You've got to be closing them down. Don't give them anything because you know if they score again now before 90 minutes is up, there's a good chance that you're going to be under incredible pressure. And I
Yeah.
could not believe how much, even the way Millwall are. They're in your face. They close you down. They rough you up. They, all these things,
Mm.
and they didn't do it. They sat so deep. I couldn't believe how deep they sat in the last
I
10
know.
minutes, even
I know.
before the first goal. But after the first goal, particularly, they just so deep. But yeah, you're right. It was an excellent goal, a couple of excellent goals.
Yeah.
And Ollie Watkins for the dramatic winner in the fourth
Yeah.
minute of stoppage
Yeah.
time.
He's doing well. Doing well again.
Having a very good season.
Mm.
Okay, next up, Hull 2, QPR 3.
Ah, mate. I'm not getting bored of it because it's really exciting me. You know what I mean? We talk about QPR and the excitement their fans must be seeing. You know what I mean? That I think they've scored more goals this season already than probably they expected to score all season after this couple of seasons they've had. You know what I mean? They're exciting. You know what I mean? Every game's a thriller. You know what I mean? There's just goals galore. It's there must be a bookie's nightmare with the amount of goals what are happening in QPR's games. But Jared Bowen scored an excellent goal, by the way. You know, he's a
What a finish.
sure favourite. And then for me, it was the Eze show. You know what I mean? His 2 runs for the 2 penalties he scored were excellent. You know what I mean? Direct, pace, trickery. You know what I mean? And the first one was a blatant penalty. The second one, he was waiting for the contact, but you can't tackle him in the box. He's going to go down. And one little thing I will say, I'll talk about his penalties. I didn't think his first penalty should have been allowed. And I'm going on his stutter. John Aldridge used to do it, and I'm going back in the day now. John Aldridge used to do it, he used to stutter. And I thought they stopped it when he used to do it. That there was a rule brought in that if you stop your movement and then the keeper dives, you can't then start your movement again. It's got to be one continuous movement. And I thought he stopped in the second one. He stopped, but not as much as he did in the first. So, but very composed. Really enjoying watching him. You know what I mean? Jordan Hugel on the bench came on for Naki Wells after an hour. You know what I mean? They've got the partnerships right at the minute. They keep on rotating the centre forwards, and they're all seem to be getting involved and all seem to be scoring goals. And they're doing something right, QPR at the minute, and they're in 5th in the league. They've scored 21, let 21 goals in. I think that tells the story about QPR this season. You know what I mean? That 21 goals. You know, Middlesbrough scored 11. You know, Birmingham have scored 11. West Brom have scored 22. Leeds have scored 16, and Leeds have got the best forward in the league. If they can get their defence sorted out and they don't let as many goals in, they can continue having a successful season. But my concern is how many goals they ship. You know what I mean? That they shouldn't have to score. They shouldn't have to score, 3 goals to win a football match. 3 goals against
Consistently as well.
yeah, it is. Well, yeah, against an average side. You know what I mean? I can't remember them taking a massive beating. You know what I mean? 3-0 against Cardiff is their biggest defeat of the season. You know what I mean? So they haven't taken a 6-0, which has affected their goal difference. So they've consistently let in 2s, 3s, 4-3. You know what I mean? 2 goals against West Brom. You know what I mean? So but they're getting it right. They're winning games. They're up there, and you know what I mean. They're playing well, and they're getting confidence. And I hope it continues for the front 3 alone, because you know what I mean. They're exciting to watch, and we spoke about these since the first game of the season, and we're still talking about them now.
Yeah, Spawn, Jared Bowen, excellent finish.
Yeah, great finish.
Took it nice and early. The one thing which sticks out to me with those penalties is that obviously they're calm and they're collected and they're a little bit of arrogance to them, but they mattered today. They weren't, like 4-1. It was 1-1 the first penalty. So that was to win the game effectively. And he gives it the stutter and the slow one run up. If he misses that, or if he missed both, say, by using that run up, Josh McGuinness goes to score just after, which, they would have lost the game. So the balls of steel on the bloke to stick, particularly with the second one, because the second penalty seals it.
Yeah.
So does he? He must have contemplated, right? Should I just bang this? Because the keeper's not going to move, and he didn't. The keeper nearly saved the second one because the first penalty, the keeper goes with the stutter, whereas the second penalty, the keeper waits because he knows, and he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And I did wonder whether he was just going to change it slightly and just run up and smash through it.
But to change sides as well, Si, that it's it takes some courage to do that. The second penalty is always, it's like when you take a penalty and it has to be retaken. Do you take it and put it down the same side? The goalkeeper's not expecting to say the penalty. The pressure's always on the centre forward or the other person who's taking the penalty. Sorry, and and Eze changed sides, but he had a similar run up. Balls of steel. Good luck to him. These players who were doing it, I wouldn't have the guts to do it. The Lyle Taylors of this world, but these are obviously better than I ever was in taking penalties, but it makes it interesting for me to watch.
Indeed, very interesting indeed. Next up, Leeds 1, Birmingham 0. And what were we saying about teams grinding out results?
Yeah, well, they're getting good at it. Side, to be fair, I know they lost against Millwall, but at home they beat West Brom 1-0. They beat Birmingham again, obviously 1-0. Second half goal from Phillips, I thought was an excellent finish. To be fair, Leeds create a lot of chances. They create a hell of a lot of chances. They get round teams. They have a lot of player in the opposition's box, but they don't have that killer instinct. They don't have that player who I think is going to score you 20, 25 goals, 30 goals. And it's that's got to be worrying because, if they need that second goal, where they're going to get it from? He's continuing to play Bamford. He brings Bamford off again. Nketiah comes on for him again. There's, like we just spoke about there, about Cardiff and about substitutions and about mixing players up. Bamford knows every single game he's getting brought off at the same time every single game. That must be so disheartening for a centre forward. It must be absolutely heartbreaking because unless he scored 2 goals or 1 goal, he's getting dragged. He's getting dragged off. And even if he scored his goal, he's still probably getting dragged off. So, if he could play 90 minutes, could he score in the last 10 minutes of each game? It's hindsight's a wonderful thing because he's not getting that opportunity, but. I know Paddy from Middlesbrough days that he's a good player, but he's not scoring enough goals, and Leeds aren't scoring enough goals, but they're still up there and they're still challenging. And if Leeds do start playing well, scoring goals, putting teams to bed, they'll be a bigger force than what they are. But 7 goals in 12 games against, They're the only team in the league who hasn't got double figures against them. So that's excellent. And and obviously Pearce is injured still. He didn't play. He pulled something the last time they played against Millwall. So they're doing it probably without the best centre half. So Leeds fans will be happy defensively, but a football fan wants to be entertained. And if I was a Leeds fan, I'd be going there with expectations to be entertained, and they're not getting the entertainment. I'm sure they'd want to probably win games 4-2, like West Brom are doing at times at home, or QPR are doing, and let a few more goals in and being entertained. But Bielsa's getting it right at the minute. He's doing a good job, and they got the 3 points in the bargain. And I know they've got a couple of tough games coming up. So they play Preston away on Tuesday, and then they've got the local derby against Sheffield Wednesday at the weekend. So, I think their credentials in the top 2, top 3 will be tested over the next couple of games because Sheffield and Preston, mate, are both up there flying, and probably two of the informed sides in the league at the minute.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'd say about Paddy Bamford is Nketiah cannot do any more to get a start. He's got a hat-trick for England under 21s. He's been scoring for Leeds off the bench. And Paddy Bamford hasn't been. He must be thinking, come on, give me a start.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. He's got this thing of playing Bamford for an hour. Nketiah comes on. I thought excellent finish, by the way, and run by the what was his name?
Phillips scored the goal.
Phillips, yeah.
Yeah.
Very good good run.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of trouble in the ground as well. Some stewards got injured, and BBC Leeds commentator Richard Wilford said it was the worst violence he'd seen inside a ground for a considerable period of time.
Right. Interesting.
So I hadn't seen anything about that, but I came across it earlier.
No.
But yeah, apparently there were some stewards who were injured by fans.
Not nice. Not nice to hear. People
No.
don't go to a game to be hurt and to not come back and be, it's not nice that.
No. Next up, which was to me an even bigger surprise than the Charlton derby game.
Yeah, shock of the weekend. This
Luton 3, Bristol 0.
Yeah, shock of the weekend, but absolutely deserved. You know what I mean? First half was a bit of a dead rubber, to be fair. You know what I mean? I think both teams huffed and puffed and created a couple of chances, but the second half started and Luton on the front foot just absolutely blew them away with creating chances. I thought Ruddock's goal he cut in from the left hand side and bent it in the top corner. Absolutely fantastic finish. And then after that, Luton could have just blew them away. I thought the second goal from Cornick was excellent. And then there was a nice on goal from Ashley Williams, which, to be fair, if he didn't put it in, the centre forward was going to score anyway. So, it was irrelevant. You know what I mean? But the attacker did his job and put him under pressure. And bad day at the office, Bristol City. You know what I mean? You're never going to win every game in this league. You know what I mean? But we talk about side, don't we? About the impact of the international break, and you know what I mean. The time before the international break, Bristol City were unbeaten in about 8 or 9 games. So it's come at a bad time for them. You know what I mean? They've gone to Bristol City thinking it's a good time to play them. You know what I mean? They've been on a bad run before the international break. We're doing really well. We've got a couple of players back. We've been able to work on little bits in training, etc. And then all of a sudden you take you take an absolute hammering away at one of the lesser sides, and you've got to pick yourself up now because they've got a couple of home games, Charlton through the week, and then Wigan next weekend, and you know what I mean, the big games, you know what I mean, because Charlton obviously coming off a massive result, you know what I mean, but Bristol City now they've hit the stage of spending all this money that they're in expectation to go and win games, and the manager's expecting to win games, and you can't afford to go and get beat against a smaller size 3-0 because we know what this league's that brutal that people end up losing their jobs if people aren't careful.
No, and Wigan are in a great bit of form as well.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. I thought Ryan Tunnicliffe was absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, he's a good tidy player. Yeah, tidy player. I'm massively impressed with the centre forward with Collins, James Collins.
Yeah, he's very good, hasn't he?
Yeah, my concern when it started the season, and it was mentioned in the middle of the game on the first Friday night of the season, is could he do it in this league? He's done it in League 2, he's done it in League 1. Can he do it in the Championship? And I was a little bit like, it's a little bit of a step above. You know, he's played every single game. He's leading the line really well. He's chipping in with the goals. He's creating chances. He was unlucky not to score at the weekend before the own goal. And you know what I mean? It's pleasing to see these like romantic stories from players who've come up through the leagues, because you know what I mean. There's probably no players work harder than people like James Collins. Do you know what I mean? To get where he is. So it's really pleasing to see.
Yeah. And speaking of romantic stories, Reading beat Preston 1-0 to give Mark Bowen his first win as manager.
Yeah, strange one. I'll talk about the appointment straight away because I know a few people had a say on Twitter. Danny Gabardon was quite vocal about it, that he was sporting director, so he was in charge of interviewing managers. So instead of interviewing managers, he did interview managers, but decided to give himself the job because he thought he was the best option and best fit for the job. Do I agree with it? Well, the proof's in the pudding, mate, innit? The proof's in the results, you know what I mean? So you can't do any better in your first game than to beat Preston North End 1-0 at home. So you keep a clean sheet, and you haven't done that for a while because they're probably one of the worst form sides in the league. You know, when you're going back since the 31st of August. The 27th of August was the last victory, and that was in a cup game. You know what I mean? They've lost or drawn every game since. You know what I mean? So to keep a clean sheet was something that the supporters probably never dreamed of against Preston, who free scoring, doing well. Sometimes it's the way you win it as well. You know what I mean? He's a 97th minute winner. You know what I mean? And we spoke about Puskas. You know what I mean? Puskas has played for Romania through the week. He's had a couple of games. He's their regular centre forward for Romania, so he's not too shabby, is he? You know what I mean? He's playing the Championship, so he's having a decent season. Just not obviously hitting the ground running with Reading at the minute. You know what I mean? The scoring goals, but I thought he was back to a little bit of his best on Saturday, and looked sharp, looked dangerous, and should have scored. But he looks like a confidence player that he didn't score. His head went down a little bit, and he was lacking a bit of confidence, but he got in the areas. He looked dangerous, and obviously he's had a good couple of weeks away with the country, and come back and hit the ground running and was flying and probably deserved a goal with his performance.
Yeah, I agree. I thought Puskas looked back to his, or at least looked better. His first touch, everything just looked a bit sharper.
He looked sharp, yeah.
With the Mark Bowen thing, I think Mark Bowen's a very, very good coach. He was very good for Wales.
Yeah.
I just find it a bit of a weird situation that he would make the decision to give himself the job. To me, that should be out of his hands. And if he was interviewing people for the job and then decided, I think I want the job, then he should have then said to the chairman or the owner or whoever, look, I've interviewed these people. I think I could do a better job, or I think I'm the best for the job, and then done it that way. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I'd have loved to know who he interviewed. Do you know what I mean? So you know what I mean. Just so I can make my own opinion. You can make your own opinion of is he the best fit? Because he could have been the best fit for the people who he interviewed. He could have been the best fit, and there's us making these assumptions and judgments of you know what I mean. He's only saying this, but he could have been the right fit at the right time for that football club, and based on results, clean sheets, 100% record. You know what I mean. He's had the best possible start.
Yeah, spot on. So speaking of starts, Stoke City 2, Fulham 0.
Yeah, I was. I wasn't surprised because obviously they've turned a corner massively, and Campbell scored his first goal. I didn't know it was Kevin Campbell's son until Kevin put something on Twitter on Saturday night, which just obviously runs in the blood that dad and son just enjoy scoring goals and are powerful and just love ragging defenders all over and smashing the back of the net. So obviously pleasing to see. And Fulham are underachieving, same as Cardiff. You know what I mean? They're not really hitting the heights of what we expected at the start of the season, and obviously they're not falling away. You know what I mean? They're not too far behind, but you know what I mean? That you look at their side on paper, you've got Mitrovic, you've got Reed, you've got Kearney, Calavero, Knockaert, Ream, Brian, Mawson. You know what I mean? Harriata. You know what I mean? After what I've just said there, I'm gonna take back what I've just said there. Massively underachieving. That team that should not be going. That team should be doing a lot better than what they are and sitting in 10th in the league. You know what I mean? That's not good enough. But don't take anything away from Stoke City. I thought they were excellent. You know what I mean? But we spoke earlier about percentages and possession. 78% Fulham had and didn't score a goal. 22% Stoke City and you win the game 2-0. You know what I mean? Campbell scored the first. Lee Gregory gets the second from the penalty spot, and you know I can see Stoke City side going on a mini run and flying up that league. They play Sheffield Wednesday next through the week, and then they've got Millwall away, so they've got a couple of toughies. But the league's not easy. You know what I mean? It's never easy. But now there was Fulham. You know what I mean? They'd gone in on Saturday thinking they were in for a really tough game, and then all of a sudden you're beating on paper the best team in the league. And they're keeping the clean sheet.
Yeah. The international break done for Derby and Derby, Bristol, Fulham. Some big guns,
yeah.
Big
sides,
victims of it.
Yeah, big sides. And if those lads have been away, I know Mitrovic has been away for his country. If other players have been away as well, maybe that has an impact that the players aren't training together and working on stuff, that they're not having that opportunity. But you know what I mean? This is what makes it, I suppose, interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not a big fan of it because I want the consistency and I want the continuity and I want to see if a team can go on this kind of run. But, you know what I mean? For the likes of Stoke City, I think an extra week's training has obviously helped Jones's side, and you know what I mean, his enthusiasm and his celebration after the game on Saturday was absolutely fantastic. And if anyone questions his desire and passion for that football club, then just look at his celebration after. Because do you know what? If there's a football fan and a Stoke City fan who enjoyed that victory more than he did on Saturday, then I'll eat me hat. Because you know, I mean, for what I saw, that was no act, by the way. That was just pure emotion.
Yeah, he's been under a tremendous amount of pressure, and I'm so glad they didn't pull the trigger and sack him.
Yeah, me too.
We were saying for a couple of weeks before they started winning again that they're not as, you know, they've had a bit of unlucky with Joe Allen got sent off. They were playing a bit better, and you could see they were getting there, and now they look like the team that we expected at the start of the season.
Yeah.
I thought Joe Allen, by the way, today or Saturday was superb. I thought he was
back to his consistent best, mate. Well, and I think that's the key. You know what I mean? There's teams who have these players who can run the games. We're speaking about the number 10s. We're speaking about the potential of Tomlin, Pereira, the knockouts. You know what I mean? The glitches. You know what I mean? Joe Allen's in that. He's in that bracket, if not one of the best players in the league by a country mile. But because they've been struggling, he got himself sent off, a lack of form, lack of confidence. You know what I mean? It's been a bit of a stop-start season, but when he's flying and confident, there's no one better. And if he's playing well and dominating games in midfield, it's freeing up space for other players and wide men and you know what I mean, the Tom Inces and the Campbells and the Lee Gregorys and other players and Lucas and you know what I mean, they're inundated with good players and attacking players and I'm sure they will go on a good run and attack that top end of top half over Christmas and then they'll restock and see where a realistic aim is.
Yeah, restock. What a team, by the way, they've got. All those players you just named off, like, poof.
Yeah. Scary, isn't it? Well, that's what I mean, underachieving. It's fine to start the season, and you know what I mean. The emotion of the manager at the end of the game showed how much pressure he's been under, how much it meant to him. But now he's got to regroup and go again, and he's got a couple of hard games this week, and he needs points on the board because you know what I mean. You can't live on one game. You know what I mean. They're beating one of the best ties in the league, but you know what I mean. They need to win more games.
Yeah, indeed. There's like 3 or 4 teams who've got these squads which are just like they're like super championship squads where they're just so good. It's like nothing that we've seen before.
Just jealous. I'm just jealous. I'm jealous of it. You know what I mean? I'm absolutely. You know, I'm just jealous of it because it's what you want to see. You know what I mean? I look at people's benches and think, oh, you know what I mean? He could walk into any championship team in, you know what I mean, the land and. You know what I mean? And then he's on the bench. Yeah, I don't get it. It's heartbreaking.
So, final game. Wigan 1, Forest 0 from yesterday. Forest's run comes to an end.
Didn't see it happening, mate. To be fair, I didn't expect it to happen. When I seen the game was on, and you know what I mean, I looked at the teams and thought this has got Nottingham Forest all over it. You know, I think we're going to slowly and surely getting players back. Josh Windass was back on the bench. Massey back. To be honest, Massey's he's in form. He's creating things. He's an attacking-minded player. And you know what I mean. And I think they've turned the corner a little bit. You know, but I was surprised with Nottingham Forest. I think obviously the international breaks had another impact on another big club and. You know what I mean. Especially playing on the Sunday, they had an opportunity to play with no pressure and to get back on the top of the table and to drop 3 points with Leeds winning and West Brom winning and Swansea getting a point and QPR getting closer to them. You know what I mean. It made it out to be a even worse result than what it was originally.
Yeah, it was a bad result. We're going to be pretty good the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they're picking up. Yeah, I mean, I think they're not scoring enough goals, but they're not letting a lot in at the same time. That got beat last week, didn't they, by Sheffield Wednesday 1-0. Beat Birmingham the week before. You know what I mean. Then lost against Fulham. Beat Charlton 2-0. So you know what I mean. scoring a lot of goals, but they're not conceding a lot either. So they're staying in games for long periods, and I think that's the most important thing in the Championship. That if you're in games, that you've got a chance to win it. You know what I mean? And sometimes a team like Wigan will take a draw and move on because you know what I mean. It's another point on the board, for example, where they go ahead against Nottingham Forest or anyone in this league, then they're strong enough to keep a clean sheet and to back themselves. And you know that they've 18th in the league, 14 points out of 12 games. So I think they'll take that. You know what I mean? Because for me, I think probably since the Cardiff game, they haven't really hit the heights which everyone expected after the first game of the season. But you know what I mean? So there's a little bit of inconsistency, but they're winning enough games at the minute to churn over a mid-table team.
Yeah, and the thing is with these teams, they keep clean sheet, stay in the game, and that's where they pick up their wins throughout the season. Is they stay in the game long enough, and then every now and again they'll pick up a win, 1-0, 2-1. Sometimes they won't, sometimes they will, but that's where they pick up their wins against the big clubs.
Yeah, but sorry, that's the Championship, and if that's the way if that's the way that you're going down, you're going to go down, and I'd be happy with that because you're going to gain more points than you are if you're going to try and stay in games and draw games. You know what I mean? It's about winning games and getting 3 points on the board. So if you're winning your home games, losing your away, instead of hanging in games and drawing here and there, you know what I mean? You're going to pick more points up throughout the season by trying to win these games at home. You know what I mean? Against big sides, because there's no point writing the game off and saying, right, we're playing Fulham this week, right? We can beat Barnsley in 2 weeks, so let's save our players for that game. Forget that. Try and win every game you can, because once you get that golden number, 40, 42 points, you can start looking up then and thinking, right, whoa, well, if we've got 40 points, we've still got 20 games to play. You know what I mean? So we can get 60, 65, 70. You know what I mean? The playoff number. You know, so teams, you know what I mean? There's always going to be a surprise, and you know what I mean? And if teams can get on a decent run and picking off good sides, and other teams have got a chance.
Yeah, spot on. So to finish off, we'll do our couple of questions, couple of segments. We've got our 2 for 2, first of all, where myself and Andy pick up 2 big performances, moments or players, and 2 nightmares for the weekend. So I think we started on the downs last week, so let's start on the ups. Who you got for your first up, mate?
I've gone for a game. I've gone for one of my ups. I've gone for a game. I've gone Barnsley against Swansea. I've gone Freddie Woodman and Collins, both goalkeepers. I thought both of them were absolutely excellent. Collins is wonder saves. So instead of just picking one, because I did originally pick Woodman for his saves for Swansea, but then Collins did the best save of the game, so I couldn't really miss him out. So it was a goalkeeping extravaganza at Oakwell for me, because I thought they were both absolutely fantastic, and neither goalkeeper deserved to be on the losing side.
No, spot on. So my first up is Bakuna from Huddersfield.
Nice.
Three goals in 3 games coming off the bench, and he's been a huge part of their revival with his goals and his attitude, and he breathes energy into the team at the end of games when they need something a bit different. He's picked up some important goals, so he was my first one. Good. You got for your second one, mate?
Won't be surprised. I've gone for Eze just for his 2 runs. Well, forget his 2 penalties, because for me it was his 2 runs. His first run, got the ball in his own half, dribbled, direct, pace, power, skill, drove in the box, got his penalty, and then he showed a different side of his game, which I haven't seen, is trickery. You know what I mean? So he got in the box, showed quick feet, went down, definite penalty, and then composure. You know what I mean? I've said earlier on about his penalty and said that I don't believe it should have stood, but it's the arrogance in a good way, and it's his composure, which he has that belief in himself to do it. You know what I mean? I'd have wet myself and wouldn't have dared do it, but you know what I mean? For him to do it, fair play to him, and you know, it just shows a confidence to the boy. You know what I mean? So he's only young. He's got loads to learn still, but you know what I mean? He's ripping the league up at the minute and causing some good sides and poor sides problem after problem, week in, week out.
Yeah, it's every week, isn't
it?
Yeah. So after not giving it to a Cardiff player all season, and I gave it to Danny Ward last week, I've gone for 2 weeks in a row and given it to Lee Tomlin.
Not surprised.
Sublime free kick. Really showed his quality, and you know, it was a big moment in the game as well. not just the fact that he did it, but did it when it was needed. And like we discussed earlier, if he gets a run of games, he can be that creative spark that can start Cardiff season where they should be going.
There's not many people sat in this league who can show those moments of class. You know what I mean, like that. You know what I mean, in at the times when teams need them. You know what I mean. So, you know what I mean. He's got that X factor. You know what I mean. And these are the kind of players which this show and the championship is what we want to talk about all the time. So long may that continue.
Yep, spot on there, mate. Who's your first down?
My first down, I've gone for Cameron McGeehan for Barnsley. He missed two apps. I didn't name him earlier on in the game because I just wanted to give him a proper send off here. Two of the worst misses, mate. I've seen in one game. You know what I mean. When Barnsley are really struggling and they're creating chances what they are, I haven't seen anything like it at times. You know that it's just zero composure, zero confidence. I get that. Being a centre forward myself, I've been there when things aren't going for me, but you know what I mean. But you take the praise when it's there, but also you've got to take the negatives and you've got to take the rubbish when it's there as well, because you know what I mean. He'll have it. He won't have enjoyed watching the highlights. We all enjoy when we play well and we score a goal, and you want to be watching Match of the Day or the highlights on Sky, and you drive back home really quickly to watch the game, but. You know what I mean? I can imagine he didn't pick a newspaper up, pick social media up, or watch the TV all weekend after his display on Saturday.
Yeah, I've also gone for Cameron McGeehan. He missed the two chances, and the one where he balloons it over the bar was just
it's just shocking.
Awful. And I've got to say, I thought his overall performance was pretty dreadful as well, apart from the missed chances.
Yeah.
And look, Barnsley can't afford to drop points.
No.
Or should I say, they can't afford to miss chances like that, which means they drop points because you know they need as many points and goals as they can get.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Who you got next, mate? For your down.
Mixed it really. I've proper mixed it up here. I've gone for the Millwall team.
I went for the team as well.
I've gone for Millwall, and I've gone that you cannot be 2-0 up with 6 minutes to go and get beat 3-2. You know what I mean? And I thought to myself, shall I go to the back five? It's not the defender's fault. It's the whole team. If you aren't attacking, you know what I mean? The manager's got to take the blame. The coaches have to take the blame. You're bringing centre forwards off, sticking defenders on, and sitting as a team and trying to defend. They're not good enough to defend, and that showed in 6 minutes that you give away a game and a result which they desperately needed. And it would have been the result. But it would have been the result of the weekend for them to win. You know what I mean? It'd be 2-0 up, coasting to lose the game there. The whole 16 plus the manager and the coaching staff deserve to be on my second down.
Yeah, so for my second one, I was going to go for Millwall, and the capitulation.
Good word.
Which they showed in their 6 minutes at the end of the game. But I actually went for Bristol City because I felt like they just didn't turn up on Saturday. And we've been very complimentary about Bristol all season.
We have. Lee Johnson's done a good job, hasn't he?
He's done an excellent job. And I just thought that it was pretty disgusting performance all around.
Yeah,
was not good.
Yeah, but this is this side, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's not. This isn't personal towards teams. You know what I mean? We're working on facts here. You know what I mean? Because we've given the praise where praise is due. Week in, week out for Bristol City. We've given Millwall some massive praise when they beat Leeds United the week before. You know what I mean? They defended resiliently against Leeds United, but then they're going to capitulate against a lesser team. So, you know what I mean? You've got to weigh things up a little bit. You know, so you know what I mean? If it's not broke, don't fix it, so to speak. So, for me, these sides got to get back to basics, and I'm sure this week won't be a nice week for certain teams in training.
Spot on, yeah, I agree, mate. So, okay, to finish off, we'll take some questions. Guys, you can send questions for Andy each week to facebook.com/AceCastNation or Twitter @AceCast_Nation using the hashtag AceNationArmy, or email acenetworkcontact@gmail.com. Okay, so first up we got, who was crazier, Emerson or Gaza?
I've seen that one. Easy. They don't come any crazier than Gaza. Like on the pitch, off the pitch, he's such a character. You know what I mean? Emerson was, he was nuts, but couldn't lay a figure on Gaza. Gaza notoriously and famously stole a bus, the team bus at Middlesbrough, and you know what I mean. This is normal. Well, normal. This is normal for Gaza. Not normal for a normal person, but normal for Gaza. And yeah, it was a character, great to play with, great to have in and around the dressing room. But yeah, they don't become any crazy, and it's just heartbreaking. I know we spoke about this last week. Heartbreaking that the way things have folded in his life, really.
Yeah. If you could sign one player for Cardiff and one player for Boro in January, who would you sign? And it says within reason, so like not Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah. I would love Bradley Dack to sign for Cardiff. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You know what I mean? That's unless Lee Tomlin plays week in, week out, or I'd even play them both because I'm sure they both complement each other. Bradley Dack is, for me, one of the best and most creative players in the Championship. I think he's absolutely excellent. Middlesbrough's an interesting one because, you know what I mean? Middlesbrough are desperate to score goals, and they do create a few chances, need to score goals. And if you're talking about players within the league, I'd love Middlesbrough to go and sign someone like Ollie Watkins and have somebody who's in form, and or a Jared Bowen. You know what I mean? A player who's doing it in the Championship, who wants to go to that next level. You know what I mean? Because there's no point in them signing Charlie Austin, for example, on loan, who it would be a sideward step or a backward step. You know what I mean? There needs to be someone who wants to go to that next level or wants to push his career on. You know what I mean? I'm all for loans in certain respects, but if players are just doing it to see out the careers or to put themselves in the shop window, it doesn't always work. And Middlesbrough aren't in a position where they can afford that to happen.
No. Final question. Fulham are looking a bit hit and miss at the moment.
Yeah.
Is it possible that with this squad they will not go up?
Oh, it's certainly possible. It will be one of the biggest shocks in Championship history if they don't, I believe, because even if they finish sixth in the playoffs, I still would expect them, their big players, to turn up in 3 games and get them over the line in the playoffs. I do believe that. But no team on paper has got the divine right to get promoted at the same time. That I think something will have to go drastically wrong for them not to go in the playoffs. I think they've got too much on paper and too much quality. But if they don't get in the playoffs, I can't see Scott Parker being there long term if he doesn't achieve that remit, because that must be a minimum. The minimum remit of Fulham this year must be playoffs, and if that doesn't happen, then they've failed miserably, massively. And the amount of players they would leave and go out the door will be massive, because the Mitrovic would leave. Obviously, Bobby Reid's on loan. He won't want to stay, I'm guessing. Knockout on loan won't stay. Calavero won't stay. You know what I mean? Well, Alfie Mawson want to stay. You know what I mean? You've got all these kind of players. You know what I mean? The players are committed, but commitment only lasts a short term in Championship life. And if teams are underachieving, you know what I mean, they've got every right to go and want to jump ship and go somewhere else, or change the lines and go to a different country, for example. And you know what I mean? They've got a very good team on paper, but can they underachieve and not get promoted? Of course they can, yeah.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So before we finish off with the fake Geordie lingo bingo, we were requested that after our exceptional predictions at the start of the season, we'd make some predictions at the end of each week of the next round of games to score. So we'll just do them really quick. We got Tuesday, Birmingham versus Blackburn.
Oh, I'm going to go on a away win. I'm going to go 2-1. 2-1 Blackburn.
Yeah, I'll go 2-0 Blackburn. Millwall, Cardiff.
Millwall won't keep a clean sheet, so Cardiff will definitely score that game, I believe. I'm gonna go 2-1 Cardiff again. I just don't think. I think after what happened on Saturday, I think it'll still play on Millwall's minds.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-0 Cardiff. Optimistic. Preston versus Leeds.
Ooh. Preston lost. Leeds won. Leeds grinding out results. I'm going to go draw. I'm going to go 1-1 because I think Preston. I can't see Preston at the minute losing 2 games on the belt because and not scoring in 2 games because obviously they didn't score on Saturday against Reading. So I'll go 1-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2-2. QPR versus Reading.
2-0 QPR. I think they're on fire, and I think it will continue. Eze scored 2.
Yeah, I don't think QPR will keep a clean sheet, so I'm going to say 3-1.
7-6.
Yeah. Sheffield Wednesday versus Stoke.
Oh, tough one again, innit? You know, I know. I think Stoke have turned a corner, but I don't believe they'll go to Sheffield Wednesday and get a result. So I think Sheffield Wednesday will win 1-0.
Ooh, I'm going to go 1-0 Stoke. Swansea versus Brentford.
I do believe Swansea will turn it round, and I think they'll go into the derby with a bit of confidence, and I think they'll beat Brentford 2-0.
Brentford 6-0. No, I had Brentford 3-2. West Brom versus Barnsley.
Oh, 4-0. 4-0 to West Brom. I don't know. I think someone soon is going to take a hiding off West Brom, and I do believe, and I think unfortunately, it could be on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I think 3-0 West Brom. Bristol City Charlton.
One team had a bad result Saturday, one team had a great result Saturday. I think the tides will turn this week, and I think Bristol City will be under that much pressure that they'll get themselves a victory, and it'll be 2-0.
I'm going to go 1-1. Derby versus Wigan.
Ooh. One team was under no pressure, Wigan. One team will be under severe pressure, will be Derby. I think it'll be 1-1. I'll go for a draw. I think I fancy Wigan to stop this rot of winning and losing.
I'm going to go with 1-0 to Wigan. Why not? Fulham versus Luton. Oof.
Well, Fulham have to win. They have to win. There's no doubt about it. They'll dominate possession. You know what I mean? I think you'll see probably the most and the least possession this season in this game, and I think Fulham will win 3-0.
Fulham 2-0, I think, to me. Huddersfield versus Boro.
I would love Boro to win 4-0, but it won't happen. I think Huddersfield will win 1-0.
I'm going to go with 1-1 there, I think. And lastly, Forest versus Hull.
I'll say, obviously both had not a very good result at the weekend. Forest need to turn it around. Forest are strong at home, to be fair, so I can't see Hull getting a result. I think Forest will win quite comfortably. I'll go 2-0.
Sweet. Okay. I'm going to go with 1-1 again. Okay, and to finish us off, the soon-to-be award-winning feature segment, the Fake Geordie Bingo Lingo, which I'm going to get a jingle made for and everything. Come on then, mate. Finish us off. Send us home happy.
So, obviously, me being from Middlesbrough, we have you know what I mean? So I'm not a Geordie. I'm not a Mackham.
That's why it's Fake Geordie.
So I am a Smoggy.
Yeah, go.
Or I'm a smog monster. So it depends on
Smog monster.
Smog monster. So it just it just depends. It depends how polite you're being. So obviously with the amount of I won't call it pollution. ICI. So it's ICI and it's the fumes and you know what I mean. It's why I've got 2 heads. So it's where this hair's going. I blame pollution.
All right, I see.
So, yeah, so I'm a smoggy. Yeah, that's the one. I'm a smoggy or a smog monster. I'll go for smog monster. I like that one.
Smog monster. Right, okay then. That's what I'm going to address you as now on text. Smog monster.
That's going to change my name on my name on mobile, aren't you? Smog monster.
That's it. Absolutely. Right. Guys, you can find Andy on Twitter and at Andy Campbell 32. You can find me at ACEcast_nation. Get in contact. Let us know what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like. And as always, send in your questions to Andy for next week in the usual places. And yeah, we'll see you next week. It's a slightly longer show because we had we talked about the Yeovil town stuff, which we wouldn't normally have addressed. But we did because it was a big story and we talked about it last week. Andy, thank you for joining me, buddy.
My pleasure, mate. Anytime. Loved it.
And guys, we'll see you next week. Cheers.